Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prophet podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprophet.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everybody to the Fantasy Football Prophet podcast. I'm Craig, joined by Jeff, and today, another mock draft episode. But this time, we're actually going to draft teams against each other. We haven't done that in a while. We've been drafting together, so it's going to be kind of interesting to see what our thought, now that we've kind of know what each other are doing, it's going to be interesting we know who we like, so you have a little more strategy here when you know who other people in your league want to draft, and you can't maybe talk it out as much. So I'm really curious how this is going to go. We're doing a standard league. I think we have two wide receivers, two running backs in this one, I believe. So it's pretty basic lineups, one quarterback, But it's going to be interesting to see what kind of strategy we take and what players we end up with. And the draft's going to start in 30 seconds already. I got the fourth pick.
And I have the eighth.
So it's going to be interesting. There's actually two other human teams in this one.
Throw some random into it.
We're on Fantasy Football Calculator for this if you want to do your own mock drafts. Good little website. You can do all kinds of different settings and stuff. That's one of them. Fantasy Draft Wizard, we've also used that one.
Yeah,
a bunch of great little
I was going to say, we jump around a lot to the different places we use. So I'll get a little different taste, a little different twist on where ADPs are and stuff like that.
Yep. And then this one, draft is already starting, so you know how it's going to go. Bell went number 1, actually. David Johnson, number 2. So this is going to be... I'm kind of curious how these other guys are going to draft. You don't really know. A little bit of a wild card. Don't know how they think. But I think I know how you think.
Yes.
So
and they think like us, I guess, because Ezekiel Elliott went number 3.
That's kind of why I picked 4, because I wanted to see what I would do when I got to this situation, because I haven't picked here, because I knew those three would be off the board.
I'm very interested. What are you going to do? Are you going to go McCoy, or are you going to go Antonio Brown?
And I've always, this is what I hate. I actually hate this pick, but that's why I picked it. I always want to get running back. I want to be, I think wide receiver's so deep. But you know what? You're
going to go for the number 1 wide receiver?
I am going to go Antonio Brown, just because...
We'll see how it turns out.
I probably would have picked McCoy over the next receivers. I think Antonio Brown's that much better. So I'm going to try this little strategy of getting Brown to see what goes on here. After Brown, Julio was picked, then LaShawn McCoy. LaShawn McCoy would have been my second option. I did think about it, but I just think Brown... I don't have a lot of question marks with McCoy, but there's a little bit. So Jeff has one more pick before you go. Odell Beckham went off the board.
Ooh.
So
I think this one's really safe for me. I know I'm going to go Melvin Gordon.
Yep. And then you have 4 picks before you come back around. So you go with the running back and then hope somebody else. You have a lot of options coming back.
I do, and I don't mind being at the end here, especially with the wide receivers going.
Yep.
Right after me, in number 9, Devontae Freeman went. Then A.J. Green at number 10. And then at number 10, he picked up Mike Evans on the turnaround, and then Jordy Nelson. So 3 wide receivers in a row, and it's back to me.
So you got probably Jordan Howard.
I was going to say Jordan Howard is still there. Or for wide receiver, I'd be looking at Michael Thomas, T.Y. Hilton, Des Bryant, Marco. So there's a lot of good ones, but for me, I love Jordan Howard. I think he's a very, very safe one, so I'm going to take him.
And this is my worry about picking that wide receiver first, is because when I come back here to my pick, running back could be I could end up with a running back as my number 1 who I'm not too enamored with, and I'm kind of worried about that.
Well, DeMarco Murray just went,
and there's
and Jay Ajayi did. So now you're.
This is why I don't like necessarily going receiver one, even with one as good as Antonio Brown, because I think you really need running backs, and that's my worry with that 4th pick. And this is only a 10-team league. Think if we were doing a 12. If you're doing a 12, I almost feel like you need to go running back at 4. Most people aren't going to do it. Everyone's going to go Antonio Brown. But you're coming to this situation where, okay, is Todd Gurley going to be my number 1 running back in the 2nd round? I don't like that.
Or I might jump and go Fournette.
Man, I have Gurley ranked ahead.
Or I was going to say, do you pick someone you're not wild about, or do you go Des Bryant, Mark Cooper, something like that?
I went Gurley, and it's just because I feel like I need running back.
I feel like it's the safe
pick
there.
He is my top ranked, but it was him or Miller or Fournette. There's question marks all over the board, and that's the worry with getting that wide receiver in the first round. You get stuck with not a great option. So after that...
And Craig is back, so you go ahead and...
Almost here.
One more pick. Now he is.
Yeah, okay. Michael Thomas, Miller, Fournette, Dez, Gronk, and Cooper. So then I'm sitting here. I got one receiver. I got a running back, but I'm okay. If I was in the situation, if I had a running back I was really excited about, I might go Aaron Rodgers here. But because I'm not, I think I go running back here because I need another running back.
And the running backs are left are Lynch, Crowell, Ware, Hyde, Lacey, Martin.
And
those
so
are
you
the
know
next
what?
ones.
This is where we talked about Crowell in some past episodes.
I was going to say, we talked about Crowell, and you said you weren't ready to give him a RB2
and I wasn't, and I'm not. But you know what?
You have to.
At this point in the draft, I have to pick him right here.
Seconds.
I have to. And that's where I think this is the earliest as he goes. And then Rodgers did go, then Cooks. And one more before you. See, I have Gurley and Crowell. I don't like it. Jeff, I'm not happy with this team. I don't like that 4 pick because you're almost forced into taking Antonio Brown there. And then coming back, I mean, there's not much left. You almost have to hope Gurley can play. And then, it was either Crowell or Lynch. I'm not as high on Lynch yet. And those other running backs, just not there. It's a tough spot, actually. As weird as it seems.
Marshawn Lynch goes.
Marshawn Lynch. See, so what do you got 2 running backs. You're set with good running backs.
So,
but now you need those wide receivers.
Wide receivers are a tough one, though, because...
Who do you go with? Alshon, Doug, Baldwin?
I'm actually going to reach on this. A lot of those guys I like, but I'm going a little upside. I'm going to go Terrell Pryor. And the reason I'm doing this is because because I waited on wide receiver, I'm going to try to kind of recreate. I'm going to try to go for like 3 wide receiver 2s. I think that's very possible to do. So I like Terrell Pryor's upside compared to taking someone like Baldwin, who's very safe. And maybe if I was getting him as a number 2, I would. But
so you're up again after you picked that pick. After you picked Pryor, Hopkins went. Spencer Ware went way too early. I believe. Allen Robinson, Tom Brady. I think Spencer Ware is way too early because there's too many question marks. He went. Yeah, that's too early for me for him. He's ahead of Hyde. He's ahead of Lacey. I don't see it. We talked about him too and like the question marks around. But you got 10 seconds, Jeff. What are you going for?
All right, this is a weird one if I get it off in time.
That's the only problem with this one is these picks go quick.
Did I get him?
Kelsey.
Yeah, so this one was a little weird. I felt like I could have easily went wide receiver, but there's a lot of guys I still liked. And I thought Travis Kelsey is a sure thing. I like a couple other tight ends, but I might as well get the best player at his position.
Yeah.
So it was just where I was at in the draft because I saw down below I can't say who I was looking at because I'm actually going against Craig, but there's probably like 3 other wide receivers I really like.
Keenan Allen, who I'm drafting right now.
Are you going to do it?
Oh, yeah. And after you picked Kelsey, Baldwin went, Hyde went, Jeff, and Alshon went, and then Keenan Allen sitting there.
I forget I'm drafting with Craig, so I lose out on Keenan Allen. He was the one I should have done. I thought I could get him on the way back, maybe.
I like Keenan Allen as my number 2.
Yeah, I love that pick.
Yep. And then after I picked Allen, Demaryius Thomas went, Sammy Watkins went, Eddie Lacy went. I was actually kind of hoping Lacy would last. I would like to get Lacy as my 3rd back. Devonta Adams went, Drew Brees went. One more pick before I go here. I got 2 running backs, I got 2 receivers. This is a 2 running back, 2 receiver league, so with a flex. So you're fine there with just getting the 2 good receivers, the 2 good running backs, and then figure out what your flex is going to be. But Jordan Reed went next. I think it's a little early for Jordan Reed, personally. I mean, I don't like to draft that tight end there. So I'm up. I got some decent options on the board. Nothing I'm too excited about, but this is the 5th round. And I'm not terribly excited about who I have here. Doug Martin, Peterson, Hill, Anderson. So I'm going to go quarterback.
There you go.
And I am going to draft Andrew Luck.
Okay.
And I'm okay with it in the 5th. Rodgers is the only guy I would draft early, like the 3rd, 4th, but I think in the 5th, once I look at some of my options, I'm okay with it. Kind of round out my team. So after Luck went, C.J. Anderson, Greg Olsen, one more pick before Jeff, who has 2 running backs, 1 receiver, 1 tight end. Jeff still needs to fill out his wide receivers. Quarterback could, or he might just wait and see how long he can wait to get Kirk Cousins or Phillip Rivers.
Yeah.
And I don't usually go with the Andrew Luck strategy. I just kind of liked it. I wanted to try something different there.
Yeah, and as I said with wide receiver, I think I'm going to have to kind of throw a bunch of stuff on the what.
Martavis Bryant?
Yeah, so I'm going with Martavis Bryant. I think probably a little early for him, but at the same time, I got to take some risk at wide receiver in order to make up for it. Because that's obviously every other position is going to be okay.
A bunch of backs went off the board there. Montgomery, McCaffrey, Doug Martin, Coleman. Martin, in this fantasy football calculator, I guess, he's going a lot earlier than he does on the other mock draft site we did. It's kind of interesting to see that. There is a big variation in where Martin gets drafted. It's a little earlier. Yes. We were getting him a lot later than this.
And another guy that has variation, Kelvin Benjamin. Get him in the 6th. Wasn't much of a reach. It's about where he goes. Yeah. Obviously, I like his upside. Right after that, Adrian Peterson, Tyreek Hill, Brandon Marshall.
Yeah, and honestly, I wasn't probably going to pick any of those guys at this point. But honestly, who would I pick at this point? I don't even know. I got to think about this. I have my spots lined up. The only one I have is tight end, which I think I'm just going to wait at this point and just kind of load up my team. And, there's a couple options I like. I'm going to go. I've been leaning more and more towards this one. I'm going to get Abdullah. I kind of just like the news I'm hearing. I think he's going to be the guy if he can stay healthy.
Yeah, I like that pick
as my third running back. I want to get a guy who I think is going to be the main guy there. And the other options were Mixon. Mixon could have been a better pick, but I'm just so unsure. Ingram, he has Peterson there. It's just I couldn't go with those guys. So after Abdullah, it was Blunt, Landry, Matt Ryan, Jimmy Graham, Larry Fitzgerald. One more pick before I go again. And it was Joe Mixon. So now I have my 2 running backs filled, my 2 receivers filled, my quarterback filled, my flex filled. So I'm pretty much good to go with just talent wherever I see it, wherever I want, whatever I think could be the best picks at this point. And that is going to be, for me, Dante Moncrief. I like Moncrief here as my third receiver behind Brown and Keenan Allen.
Yep, and I like him a lot. He was on my list of people I was probably going to go, but since he's gone...
Went Delaney Walker, Latavius Murray went next, which those are guys they're not Murray I worry about with Cook. I don't know what to expect there, so I kind of avoid him. Yet one more pick before Jeff picks again. Who again? Let's say here he has 2 backs, he has 3 receivers, he has a tight end. Still waiting on that quarterback. Eifert just picked before Jeff's pick. You can probably still wait on quarterback. It's looking like because only I think the 5 have gone off the board, the top 5.
Yeah, not many.
So there's still plenty of options. So there's really at this point there's almost not a need to unless there really isn't almost.
No, if I really really wanted one in particular, I'd probably have to take him right by now. But I think I don't think there's any. For this one, I'm going to go Willie Snead. We've talked about him before. In the 7th round, I think he's a good value. I kind of predict that he's going to be relatively safe, so I can play him week to week, which is great.
After you pick Snead, it went Edelman, Derek Carr. That was probably who you were looking at, too.
Yeah, so it's between Derek Carr and Cousins, kind of. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and grab Cousins just because...
you just don't want to lose him.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to be forced into something else.
Then Martellus Bennett, Hunter Henry went before that, so 2 tight ends, but then Cousins you got. So you're pretty much... at this point, you're just drafting almost who you think the best talent. You might need a running back to make sure you have another guy, especially because you have 2 on this with the same bye.
Yeah. So
see, I don't worry about that.
No, I'm not worried about that.
I worried about that
because it's Gordon and Howard.
Yeah, I only worried about that in a 2 QB league because that is a bigger deal. So after you picked Cousins, Powell went, Cam Newton went, Ingram went, and that puts me back on the board. I still don't have a tight end, which I'm actually okay with. I'm still waiting because there's other players here. I like some talent here, but I don't know what I do like. What I'm going to do here is take a chance, go for some potential. And that is going to be Dalvin Cook. And the reason is sometimes I don't make that pick. I might go safer, but I'm not, completely confident in my running backs either. So maybe I'll have a guy that just kind of breaks out. Who knows? So I'm going to take some chances here, some young guys.
I like that.
So Cook's my 4th running back. Waiting on the next guy to pick here. When I come back around, I think I'm still waiting on tight end. I'm going to keep waiting, and I'm just going to keep building up my team with as much talent as I see. After Cook, it went Henry, Paul Perkins, Golden Tate, Mike Gillislee, Rob Kelly. One more pick before I go. There's Frank Gore. Actually, I'm going to pick Frank Gore if he's still there because that'll be my 5th running back. And I like Frank Gore as a 5th running back. Basically with what I got here, I want a solid guy who I can probably trust if I throw him in there. So it is going to be Frank Gore as my 5th running back. So I'm set. I'm done with running back. I wanted that one final just guy who I know is safe.
So once again, Craig has taken the guy I was going to.
So Sanders went, Roethlisberger went after that. So Frank Gore, he's solid. 9th round. I like him. He's a solid, steady guy. And I had to get somebody like that, especially with getting Dalvin Cook and getting Amir Abdullah ahead of that, and even Gurley and Crowell. I needed some really just like Gore might be my flex actually. Who knows?
He could turn out that way.
Safe player here. Waiting on one more pick. It was Diggs. And there's Jeff picking again.
All
and
right.
He can pretty much pick whatever he wants at this point. Maybe a running back is probably the safer route. And Gore would have been that guy. It would have been perfect for that position because he would have been safe. But so it's not as good now, Jeff.
No, but this one I'm going to go a little out on the ledge here. This is actually a pick that Craig will like. But I'm going to...
Yeah, and at this point, you got to go for... You need somebody there.
Yeah, so I'm going Pirine, thinking that he's going to steal the job from Kelly or at least be 50-50 with him.
You're going to be back up again. But the nice thing is you have 4 solid receivers where if you really get into a bind and need a running back, you can probably somehow make a deal and get one with a wide receiver. Maybe it won't be perfect, but you can make a trade. After Pirine, Deshaun Jackson, Jamison Crowder, Jeremy Hill, Jamal Charles, which we don't even talk about Charles ever.
Yeah, it's hard to say. We're not exactly sure yet. And this is kind of a weird position, too. I probably should go running back again. But there's no one I really love. I think I can find someone else. So I'm going to go Cameron Meredith, which I think has huge upside. So at this point, I think I've filled my wide receiver out to the point where I'll get 3 of them to really, really play well.
Yeah, so you got Meredith. And there's one guy I will pick if he comes back to me. I'm waiting. I'm just hoping he's still there.
Who's that? I can't get him anywhere.
Devontae Parker.
Okay.
Nope,
he didn't make it.
And he went the very next pick as soon as I said his name.
I actually chose Cameron Meredith over Devontae Parker. There were the 2 on there.
I was hoping he was going to come back, and literally as I said his name, there he went. So Parker, Kenneth Dixon, then Forte. So now I got to go back to the drawing board here. You know what? Okay, I got an idea. I'm going more potential. Corey Davis. Corey Davis will be my 4th wide receiver. He's interesting. He could be great. We don't know yet.
It just shows you how deep wide receiver is, though.
After Davis, it went Corey Coleman, Dak Prescott, Randall Cobb, Jameis Winston, Denver defense. You always see Denver defense first, and you see them early, which to me, I don't.
Yeah, so they went in the 11th round when there's 15. That's just way too early.
I can see the earliest I would go any kind of defense is probably 13th, and that's only because at that point you're probably like, okay, there's a mixture of guys you might pick, but 11th I think there's still too many guys out there, so I still haven't picked a tight end. Still haven't, and I'm just gonna keep waiting on
it. Yeah. There's plenty to kind of go through, but
this is a different. I'm going different. I'm not used. This is a little different for me. Mike Williams, the wide receiver. I got 2 rookies.
Might as well test them out.
I got 3 rookies on this team. This is very, very unusual for my normal strategy, but I think I like my receivers of Brown and Keenan Allen and Moncrief, so why not take some chances? Some more defenses went off the board. Houston, Kansas City, then Danny Woodhead, and Jeff is back up.
And now I'm going to have to take some educated guesses at the running back position.
Yeah, you need somebody here.
So I'm going to go.
Okay, and I was looking at that. I would say that's another. We talked. He should be a solid option.
Mm-hmm.
So if he becomes the starter, if he stays the starter, when you have to have a bye week, you're okay with that because he could be he could be decent enough. After you picked West, Mariota, Garcon, Eli, John Brown went. Actually, I thought about John Brown last round, but decided against it. Jeff's back up again.
And I'm going to go Kareem Hunt.
There's some potential.
That's
a good solid one, I think. Especially with... Yeah, you got...
So
we're both going... You got 2 rookie running backs. I got 1 rookie running back. I got 2 rookie receivers. We haven't done this very often this way, but it's just kind of like those guys getting them where we're getting.
It's really different. It's funny how different my draft would have went if I didn't get my tight end in the 4th.
Yeah. After Hunt, Rivers went Marvin Jones, Eric Decker. Puts me back on the clock in the 12th round. So we have 4 rounds left. 2 of them are basically set for a kicker and defense. I still don't have a tight end. And I'm going to wait on tight end yet. I'm still going to wait. I don't know why I'm still waiting.
So who's left at tight end right now?
I have
Rudolph,
one guy I want.
O.J. Howard, Ertz. So you're going Ertz, I assume.
Oh, yeah.
Julius Thomas, you could pick him.
I could.
Jack Doyle, Ebron, Fleener. There's a lot of some interesting ones, but nothing.
Okay,
nothing that jumps
I'm going
out.
to pick Jonathan Stewart because it's so late, and he still could be the first and second down guy. If he's not, I'll release him. I'm not worried about it.
Right.
He is my, sixth running back? So I got two old guys in Gore and Stewart. I didn't want Rawls at that point. I don't know. I just didn't. After Stewart went Stafford, Macklin, New England, Mike Wallace, Thomas Rawls, Seattle defense. That leaves me to get Ertz. And that's what I was looking for all draft. I hope to get him draft. And that Ertz is my tight end, and I'm completely okay with that. Then it went Kyle Rudolph, John Ross. One more pick before Jeff goes. And this is where you have to make a decision. Do you end up picking the defense early? And I don't think you do at this point. There's so many off the board. The good ones are gone.
Yeah, I'm not really that worried about it.
At this point, I'm just picking the defenses you're picking are just kind of just random. They really are.
Yeah, none of them seem that crazy to me. So
Justin Tucker went off the board first kicker.
Actually, I don't really care. I'm just gonna take in this situation, I'm taking a kicker early. I'm just going Gostkowski.
Because there's just so many guys. There's nobody you're really enamored
Yeah,
by.
exactly. If there was, I'd probably take him. But as my last spot, I'm probably gonna have to move the guy around, cut him, do something like that to pick new people up.
After you got Gostkowski, you went Minnesota D, Arizona D, Matt Bryant, Vinatieri. So the run is on. Now you have either defense or you got one more position you could pick random.
Yeah,
I
think
15 runs. You could go with the backup quarterback.
I love no defenses on there. I think looking, is there any running backs that I'm looking at that could be interesting? Jacquizz Rodgers is there, but I'm not going to use him in the first 3 weeks, so who cares?
Jamal Williams, because he could become a star. Who knows?
Yeah, there's still a lot of wide receivers, so I'm going to take one of them, and I'm going to go ahead and go Rashad Perriman.
Yeah, I like
So
Perriman.
so he's an interesting guy. Once again, going to be at the end of my depth chart.
Yep.
So I might have to get rid of him before I do anything with him.
Yeah, I mean, I like Perriman as a late round flyer. Yeah. I really do. I think he, could do something. And then basically now waiting for me here. I got defense and kicker, and pretty much all the good defenses are gone. All the good kickers are gone. Once it gets closer to the season, I'll probably have a better idea. If I'm waiting on defenses long, if I don't get one of the others, I'll probably just pick who has the best matchup week 1. I don't have that schedule in front of me right now, so I'm not going to worry about it. Giants D, Dan Bailey, Matt Prater went. So I'm going to pick a defense I think could step up. It's probably not going to happen. I'm picking Jacksonville. They have a lot of young guys.
Yeah,
they got some new players. Why not? Then it went Graham Gano, Sebastian Janikowski. I know, exciting. Mason Crosby. Then C.J. Prosise, Kevin White, Theo Riddick. Some decent players at the end of the draft. I get to pick a kicker. Brandon McManus from Denver. I'm going to pick him because I feel like Denver's going to end up kicking field goals and not getting against him. Right. So I'm going to pick McManus. Jordan Matthews, man, it's weird how far he's fallen.
I know. I guess I don't know exactly how to feel about him.
I don't either. I never drafted him. We don't talk about Jordan Matthews much. We don't think about him.
I haven't heard a whole lot about him either on the offseason, which is kind of strange.
O.J. Howard went off the board. Quincy Enunwa.
And me, and I get to pick a defense, and I don't.
You don't
necessarily care.
No.
You heard anything good about Baltimore or Carolina?
Honestly, no. I haven't. I have not.
Just for the fun of it, why not? I'll go Baltimore.
And you know what? We're streaming defenses at this point.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. So Baltimore ends your draft. Marlon Mack got picked. Jacquizz Rodgers. Nice little quick draft. I'm going to run down my team. My quarterback, Andrew Luck. I did not get a backup. Andrew Luck doesn't have a bye till week 11. So I have no need for a long time. If he gets hurt, he gets hurt. I'll find somebody. Running back wise, I got a bunch of them. Todd Gurley, Isaiah Crowell, Amir Abdullah, Dalvin Cook. Then I got the old guys, Frank Gore and Jonathan Stewart, who hopefully could be steady if I need them and get 8 points. And that's all you're asking. Wide receiver wise, I do like my wide receiver group, my starters. Antonio Brown, Keenan Allen. With Moncrief as my third. And then I got some rookies in Corey Davis and Mike Williams, and Zach Ertz is my tight end. What do you got, Jeff?
Solid. I went Kirk Cousins at quarterback. I think he's undervalued. I think that's a good one. And then I have Melvin Gordon, Jordan Howard. That's going to be the heart and soul of this team. As long as they stay upright, we'll be good. And then for my wide receivers, I'll probably use 3 of them. One is my flex. And I got Terrell Pryor, Martavis Bryant, and Kelvin Benjamin. And I also have Willie Snead and Cam Meredith and Brashard Perriman. So I'm loaded on wide receiver, but I'm guessing it'll be those first 3 to play, and then Willie Snead in and out.
Yeah.
And then I also have Kelsey, which is a huge benefit to have because he's just so damn reliable.
Yeah, he's if you can get Kelsey in a draft like this.
Yeah, and I think the only thing I didn't like about my draft was the fact that I didn't get that one other running back. If I would have switched out, say, P. Ryan or something with Amir Abdullah or even Frank Gore or something like that, I would feel much safer about where I'm at. But so even though running back is definitely my strongest position, it's also very, very dangerous because if one of them gets hurt, I might be in a little bit of a bind. But other than that, I think my team came out very, very solid.
Yep. Well, let's see what the ranks have to say about us. See who they like better. We'll just use Football Guys. I like Football Guys. Might as well give them a little plug here. They have a good little site. You can plug your team in, see what they think about your squad. The only thing I don't like about it sometimes when you don't have a second quarterback, they kind of might lower your team a bit, which no big deal. I just want to see who they think is better out of our teams, Jeff. And they like mine slightly better. Not a lot, but slightly.
Oh,
and they both, they're kind of iffy on our squads, which I can see. And I don't think, and we both took tough positions in where you get in the draft. I think 4 is actually, for me, is actually tough. Because, yes, you get Antonio Brown first, but then running back, you were going to struggle. And same thing where you were. You get a running back, but you don't get one of the top guys. So you have to get a couple decent guys, but then you're going to hurt at wide receiver. As you're not going to get the top end wide receiver. What they say for you is your strength is the running back position. So, but they have Cousins about 11th quarterback, so that kind of hurts sometimes.
Oh, they're lower on him.
But so sometimes these ranks can be a little off just because it's completely like ranks based. You know what I mean? It's not going to say, Cousins might be 11th, but he might be only like a couple points worse than 6th or something. But, that's where they're going to go down. They like your running backs. Wide receivers, they don't necessarily like, which I get. And I get why. But I like Pryor a lot more than they do.
Yeah, and I kind of knew. I wasn't sure about where Cousins was going to rank on that site, but I kind of knew that wide receiver I was going to take a hit because it is kind of a makeshift, and it's the guys I really like.
Yeah.
But yeah, I figured they would like my running backs and Travis Kelce. So what are the kind of percentages they gave you?
For like percentage wise, for like chance to make the playoffs, they have you about 55-65. I've seen on a couple. There's 2 of them, 55-65. The problem is, this is where you're getting ranked lower. Is these ranks, they don't like Terrell Pryor.
Really?
Yeah.
How low is he on these?
They put him as like your 4th receiver on some.
What?
Yeah,
Really?
I'm telling you.
Holy cow!
So it's not all of them, but like it's just not a big Terrell Pryor fan.
Oh, God,
so
damn.
that's where that's why I think yours is better than what they're saying. Mine they put slightly better, basically because of. I mean, let's see here. I'll get the right ranks possibly.
Andrew Luck.
Yeah, because they like my quarterback probably better. That's pretty much it. It's quarterback wise, running back wise. I might be okay. Like I got 2 running backs that are probably top 15, but I'm more worried probably about them than even the ranks would be, just because I think we both. I don't know. We talk about Crowell a lot. I don't know if I like him as my second running back.
I think he's a very solid running back too. I think where I worry about is you potentially have 2 guys that could underachieve.
See,
Gurley and Crowell.
I think and I like Crowell. I think better as my number 2 if I have a much stronger number 1.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Very true. With Todd Gurley as number 1, I would kind of be leery of that as well.
Yeah, I think that's where my problem is there. But I mean, I don't necessarily love this team. But again, this is why I don't do snake drafts.
Yeah,
in our main leagues,
you end up having to reach. I actually quite like my team. Like I said, I wish I could get one more guy, but I can get that in waivers, trades, something like that. So I think we both positioned ourselves in in a very good way where I think we would win a lot of games, and I think we would have a very good chance of getting into the playoffs. You're really only one waiver pick away from having a very, very solid team.
Yeah, well, it's always a fun little thing to do. Try to do it against each other and see what happens there, and you never quite know. This site's a little different and where these players are getting drafted, I think, than the other one.
Yeah.
So,
and
it's interesting to see.
Do you see any of the teams in here? Just scan over it really quickly.
Yeah.
Do you see any of them that you really like and how they went about it?
The first team, look at that first team and tell me you don't like that team.
Yeah,
it's Le'Veon Bell, Leonard Fournette, Eddie Lacy at running back, which I like Lacy more than some, but as your third, I love it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And Fournette could be really great. Wide receiver-wise, you got Dez and Devontae Adams. I like that a lot.
Yep.
And then you still get Matt Ryan at quarterback, and you get Jimmy Graham at tight end, which I think is a very solid tight end. And you get a backup quarterback. If Matt Ryan's not enough for you, get your backup quarterback at Jameis Winston. The other receivers, Golden Tate, solid. Randall Cobb, we don't know. Could be okay, but as a fourth, I'm fine with it. But they got Cobb and Adams. I think we talked about this on another show. On a mock draft, I believe, we had Adams, and we talked about, do we get Cobb? Because then you for sure, if Adams doesn't step up, it might be Cobb.
Yeah.
Mike Gillislee, solid. That's a good team.
Yeah, it's a very good team. I like that a lot.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid team. I'm not sure. Yeah, the second one got David Johnson. I don't really like it with the way it goes down.
Yeah, they have a lot of risky picks. But I actually quite like the number 3.
With Zeke.
Yeah,
but
Zeke,
the wide receivers are really solid.
Yeah, Michael Thomas, Amari Cooper, Demaryius Thomas. Then you go Jordan Reed if he stays healthy. That is deadly. And then LeGarrette Blount, Joe Mixon, Derrick Henry. So that's why I was talking. Like, they almost remake the running back 2 in the aggregate because one of those 3 you think is going to do well from week to week.
Yep.
Probably Blount most of the time, and then you can put Derrick Henry and something like that.
Yep.
And then you have your Russell Wilson as your quarterback, which I'm a little lukewarm on, but you also back him up with Matthew Stafford. You have Corey Coleman and Rashard Matthews. I really like that team. I think that's incredibly solid.
Now the 7th team did decent. I like it. They got the wide receiver wise: Odell, Doug Baldwin, Michael Crabtree, solid. DeMarco Murray, Marshawn Lynch is okay. I'm not like completely sold on it, but then they got Eifert at tight end, which I like better. And then way down in the 12th round, they've picked up Phillip Rivers as their quarterback.
And they're also the ones that picked up Devontae Parker.
Yeah, so I like that. And they got Powell, which you like. So
I feel like
it's a decent team.
I feel like they have a very safe team, and then you have like the Odell Beckhams and the Devontae Parkers that can throw in big weeks.
Yep.
But other than that, you have DeMarco Murray, Lynch, Baldwin, Crabtree. Like, if it doesn't get any more safe than that, I don't know what does.
Yep. But my team's okay. I'm not completely. If Todd Gurley is Todd Gurley from his rookie year, I love my team. And if Keenan Allen comes back and is 100% healthy, very good.
I'll give you this. You have a lot of upside on your team.
It's
a little
bit more. I don't usually go that risky. And you know what? Auction draft, I don't have to just. I mean, you're forced into spots here. So,
yeah, and that's why I reached on quite a few of mine as well.
All right, well, it's another mock draft in the books. So I think we'll probably have more coming up. It changes it almost changes week to week on where these players are getting drafted. And it's nice to keep doing these to just get an idea of really where you want to, what players you actually are valuing more than others and what you need. But I think that's it for today, and we'll talk to you guys next time.